This is Tales from the Cube, a podcast about call centers, what it's like to work in them, the good, the bad, the ugly, the funny and not so funny side of what it's like working in a call center. Hello and welcome. This is Tales from the Cube, episode 24002. My name is Cliff. Today I will discuss topics not for the kids' ears. This episode may also trigger some out there listening. I suggest being aware of that before diving into this particular episode. Call center staff can and do say things they shouldn't say on calls, and in another episode, I will address that issue. Today, I want to touch on the things and questions customers ask us that are really, truly wildly off mark. They are some of the most extreme things customers will do and say on calls, and they are very unpleasant to deal with. It's one of the reasons there is such a high turnover and burnout rate in call centers. It's believed that for every 1,000 calls we get, we will be contacted by somebody who is a felon, a person who has been convicted of a serious crime, including murder, rape, assault, and robbery. Yes, some people who are released have committed these crimes in the past, and they do use products and services. So do not be surprised that at least 1 in 1,000 calls you will actually be speaking with somebody who is a felon, a criminal. In most cases, you will never know who they are or what they did, nor will they be nasty on the phone. It's rarely revealed, so you will never know. In 99% of your calls, you'll never see this. It won't be revealed. You might get the one who basically will talk about it. Most people aren't. But you will get many unpleasant people, felons, mentally unbalanced people, and just plain unkind people on the phone. And a percentage of these people are going to say some very awful things to you. Threats to harm you, destroy property, and questions and statements that are both lewd, creepy, and disgusting have been reported. Sadly, the call center industry has done very, very poorly when addressing this particular problem. Dealing with abusive customers has been a real issue. There's a lot of work to be done here. Disinhibition effect is the psychological term that describes behavior that is very, very bad. Think about starting fires, binge eating, buying products or getting services, and then not paying for them. Another attribute is obscene behavior. The online disinhibition effect is being rude while online or on the phone, saying things to people that are horrific. The past few years have brought the COVID-19 pandemic. Death, lockdowns, business shutdowns, unemployment, protests, political divisions, crime, inflation, war, and weather effects. All of it has impacted everyone. A Center for Services Leadership study at the W.P. Carey School of Business at Arizona State University reports that customer rage abuse calls have nearly doubled. Think about that. Doubled since the pandemic. It has basically brought on this. The pandemic started this, and all these other events that I just mentioned have actually brought this on. Here are some of the staggering stats from a University of San Francisco study of 1,500 CSRs. 81% of CSRs stated that they are dealing with verbal and emotional abuse from callers on a daily basis, which is extreme anger expressed over the telephone towards the CSR and or their organization, which violates the generally accepted norms of interpersonal conduct and descends into personal insults, screams, and curses. 36% of CSRs stated that they have experienced violent threats, racist comments from callers on a daily basis. 21% of female CSRs and 9% of their male coworkers stated they have experienced sexual harassment or homophobic comments from callers on a daily. Note that, daily basis. The call centers experiencing this in the most highest percentage rates of customer rage and abusive calls are cell phone services, airline reservations, technical support, that's what I do, email, computer, software, and hardware issues, cables and satellite TV, and automobile. Generally speaking, The call center staff must stay on the line and try and help the customer. The idea is to retain the customers loyally to the brand. Why? It comes down to the bottom line. The company wants to keep money flowing into its bankrolls. So, yes, it actually will sacrifice the mental health of staff to do that. But this is changing across many companies. It costs money to replace staff. And high turnover is just one of many different things that can be really bad. It's just as bad as customer dissatisfaction. So there's more to it than that. There's a lot of other things that will affect your call center. I'm going to go into this. A QATC Quality Assurance and Training Connectivity Study benchmarks the average call center agent turnover rate between 30 and 45%. Think about that. You're burning 30 to 45% of your staff by allowing customer abuse. The call center industry is experiencing a crisis due to high attrition rates, and many look at this KPI as the number one metric for calculating business success. Customer behavior impacts part of this on the call. 60%, note that, more than half, 60% of agents report that companies do not do well with handling challenging customers. The opinion is that there needs to be more support and better training for dealing with difficult customers. Companies lose millions of dollars because they allow bad behavior from customers to continue without challenge. Is the customer always right? Yes, they are always right when it comes to these things. Number one, customers have a strong connection to their company or the companies they deal with and their products and services. So they expect a resolution to the problem or an explanation as to why if something has gone wrong, especially when they cannot get a resolution. There are times, believe it or not, if you're a customer and you're a manager out there, you need to understand the frontline guy on the phone, not going to be able to get a resolution. We're just not going to be able to do it. And managers and customers need to understand this. Sometimes we just can't fix it. Most managers do. They realize, we can't fix that. One bad experience, though, can cause customers to migrate to their competitor, like a company's competitor. So they'll do that. They'll migrate their business to another company or brand, two or more. Well, that's basically going to end the relationship. So you want to try and help the customer. That's still important. I've always said that in every episode. Try and help the customers because happy customers stay engaged with businesses even when a mistake is made. So even if you make an error, if you're doing the right things, if you're trying to help the customer, you will get them to stick around with you. Happy customers bring new customers. You're going to get new business. So if you show that, hey, yeah, something happened, they fixed it, they proved that they're a really good company, people are going to be like, oh, okay, I want to be involved with them. There is a link to business growth. Happy customers get more things and more services. Loyalty means longevity. You can count on the repeat business. All right? So, yes, it's important. Customer is always right. But there are some things I'm going to say here that basically make it so that you understand that there are some things that managers and customers need to be aware of that are wrong. So what does bad behavior look like? And what can it do to a business? Allowing customers to vent is okay. Agents should be trained to handle calls well enough to deal with angry customers. They should also be backed by strong policies and discourage bad behavior. Not doing this can lead to high attrition rates, absenteeism, and, believe it or not, antisocial behavior in your center. Yeah. You can see antisocial behavior in your call center because of this. Pushback from your agents. Yeah, I've heard, I've never seen it yet, but I've heard of agents telling managers to F off, giving them the bird, telling QA managers to go screw themselves. Things like that have happened because of the impact of bad calls. It's not right for a staff member to do that, and there should be corrective measures taken against that kind of behavior, but there's a reason behind it. And before you take the corrective measure, look at this. Really look at this. A holistic approach is needed here, because the bottom line is that if your staff member is behaving in an antisocial manner, it could be because of what's going on your line, and you may need to address this. So here are some things to customers should not do, for which companies should also allow agents to say, we're not going to do that, we're going to do this, and that this is disconnecting a call. Okay? Number 1, I will see to it that you're fired. Please, as a customer, never say this to a rep or a company. Should never let customers make that kind of threat without a challenge back. Never, never do this. That person has the right to make money. They have the right to make money. I'm not just here to help my company make money. I'm here to do the same thing. And I want to be respected on the phone. So somebody coming up to me on the phone and saying, I'm going to get you fired. Really? Customers have the right to vent, to be upset about service or product failure. Let me restate that. Customers have the right to vent, to be upset about services or products failures. But they do not, I want to say this again, they do not have the right to make that kind of threat. Back your staff up as a manager, just as much as you back up your customer. You want to back up your customer? Great. If the customer is right, absolutely. You want to take the steps necessary to help that agent be better, but you also want to listen and see to it that that agent did the right thing, followed the procedures, and if they did, you back them up. Number 2, is there someone better trained than you? You sound like you do not know what you are doing or are reading from a book or manual. I want somebody competent, and you are not. You are not. I've actually had people say that. While trainees and new staff are on the line every day, many companies now use manuals and resources online to help customers. The training is equal across the board. Even the senior staff will follow the procedure. Senior managers need to affirm training and procedure with the customer, which also brings me to this point. Make sure your staff across the board are trained in the same way. For every new training group that you bring in, they all get the same training. And if there are changes, you make sure that the older staff get that training too. Uniformity is important here. It does not breed contempt, it actually breeds continuity, and you want that. So make sure that you're training your staff well to do the job well. And in this way, you can back up your staff and say, that's correct, that's procedure, and that's the manual. This is how it's going to go, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, this is the procedure. You don't want to actually say that to a customer as a rep, but in a polite way, you do want to say that. This is the way it's going to go, this is the procedure, this is how it's going down. At the end of the day, as a customer, you need to understand that message and respect it. You can deal with it or not, or, sulk about it and complain about it or not. But at the end of the day, do you want your problem solved? Let the advisor help you and get this done for you. Do that, and you're going to be a much better off person. So are they, and so is the company. You're going to all win by doing that, by following the procedure. I am going to call a lawyer and sue you. I've been in the business 20 years, never been sued, thank God, and hopefully never will be. But I have had people say that to me, I'm going to sue you. Good luck with that. Most companies will back their staff. Again, you're going to be, particularly a big company like, say, Google. They don't just have one lawyer coming at you, they have 20. Really? You're one little piddly lawyer against their 20? Suing them? You might win, but most likely you're going to lose. Now, you do have the right to sue. People do have the right to say and do that. I'm going to sue you. But once you do that, that's the end of the call. You're done. As far as I'm concerned, that's the way I handle it. You're done. Call our company, through your representative. We're done here. Now, unless you want help, we're going to move on from this. Now, I realize I'm in this podcast, I'm taking a bit of a hard tone here. The reason being is this kind of stuff needs to stop. We want to still help you. We still want to try and do everything we can for you. Threatening that, basically, it's just going to get you hung up on. You'll get a warning. Okay, I understand you want to do that. You're still legally allowed to do that. But if you continue to make these statements, I'm going to be disconnecting the call. End of story. Give me your last name and employee number. Really? You don't need to know that. And you don't need to have that. There's two reasons. One, it violates the company policy. And secondly, it is unsafe for me to give that information working for a large company that I work for. and people don't always like them, do I really want to put myself and my other colleagues at risk? So the answer policy-wise, not only from my company, but from my client, and also the rules of the role state, I don't have to do that, and I'm not going to do that. End of discussion. Not going to do that. Move on. You will do this, and you will do it now. Oh, wow. Yeah, I've actually had that. I've actually had people say that to me. You will do this, and you will do it now. We're still going to try and help you, but we're not going to do it now. We're going to follow the procedure. We're going to do everything we can to fix it, but is it going to be now? No. Particularly when troubleshooting is in the mix here. When it's in that realm, we're going to follow the procedure. So it's not going to be done now. So with that kind of tone, that kind of attitude, again, managers, you should also support your staff in this. When the customer is speaking like that, they want to be that kind of aggressive. We want to sort of challenge them and say, look, we're here to help you out. We'd love to be able to go forward and do it now. We're just not going to be able to do that. We have to follow this process. This is the way it's going to go. We'll continue working with you. If you don't want to, more than likely, that's going to end in our interaction being stopped, and you could call us back when you're ready for more service and more help. We're not going to do it now because we have to follow this procedure before we can do it. In some cases, we are going to be able to do it. But even this, saying this, you will do this and you will do it now, really is impolite. You shouldn't say that to somebody. Do you know who I am? I make more money than you and can make your life a living hell. Because I know people in your company. That may be true. But an intelligent CEO, VP, or manager would never do anything to damage the brand or the company. You are nobody, just a peon, so get on with it. Fix my issues. Sure, we'll fix the problem per the procedure down the line. We're going to go right down the line. Again, a manager looking at this may see a staff member still helping you. Being polite and following the procedures will do nothing to the staff member. They will do nothing to the staff member. The bottom line is if you're doing your job, right, as a rep, manager's going to look at us and say, hey, you did your job. So, yeah, I might have been a little bit slower. Maybe we could have picked up a pace a little bit, but you did nothing wrong here. You still did your job. Remember that the person on the other end of that call line is a human, so show a bit of class. In many call centers, Tier 2 staff act as managers and are the final point of contact on the line, with few exceptions if something went wrong or wasn't done right. And even in those particular scenarios, the Tier 2 manager reviews the calls for accuracy and nothing comes of it. It's done right. It's pretty hard to game the system, though if that can be done. I had a recent experience where a customer did that to me and I got a verbal warning. So that's what happened. Some aspects of the call needed to be addressed. I could have done better. And there were errors that I did make on the call. So I made some mistakes on it. So it goes to say that it got scored down. Do I agree with the write-up? No. But this happens. It proves that the system does work, and sometimes it does get gamed. That customer was able to do something they shouldn't have been able to do, but because the only reason why they got away with it is because I didn't do my procedures correctly. So I'm in the wrong too. In my case, it was both. The customer got away with something, but I also made mistakes. So I own up to that and say, yeah, I made a mistake here. I have to pay for that. But do I agree with the actual action? No. But at the end of the day, the system worked. So I have to basically accept it. And the customer got away with it. Next time, more than likely, they won't. Number 9 here is, I want to kill you. I hope you die. I get hurt. Or your family member or spouse dies. This is sick. Really, truly sick to say. No manager should allow that in any situation at all. Many staff actually go to work in pain physically and emotionally due to this and outside forces. Managers and customers alike should remember that the reps are there to help, not to be used or abused. Okay, really, in all honesty, that's what they're there to do. So please don't say something like that. And because also remember, that rep on the phone just may have gotten a notification that something happened to one of their family members. I know when I was on vacation back in December and January, my wife died. I wouldn't want somebody being nasty like that to me on the phone just after receiving such news. I still don't, because I'm in the grieving process. I'm still healing from that experience. So somebody saying that to me would be very, very unkind and very unpleasant. So please remember that. There's a human being on the other end of the line, and somebody they may have just received news about may be injured, sick, imprisoned, because they did something stupid, or dead. And it's not your place to make them feel worse by making such a statement. Go back to your country. Really? Come on. We're in a global society. We are in a global society, and people are from different parts of the world. They come to our countries to live and to work, and we should do everything we can to be respectful to them for the fact that they've come to do that. So to make their life difficult is not really something that you should do, and saying that you should go back to your country. Just remember that in most cases, you came from a history that also involved people coming from a country that you are not familiar with, but they did come from that country. I'm Irish by descent. My family originates from Ireland. So I am a Canadian, but I'm also really, in a sense, through my heritage, an immigrant. Although I'm a naturalized citizen, I'm Canadian. So I don't consider myself an Irishman. I consider myself a Canadian with an Irish background. But we all came from somewhere, and that somewhere is another country. That's how Canada and the United States came to be. I want a man. The only place you belong is in the kitchen or in the bedroom. Ooh. Being asked lewd questions and shown disgusting photos on the screen share. That is something else. I've actually had that happen to me, where I've actually had people show me their junk. Oh my God. Like, really, you don't need to do that. And you don't need to say those things on a call. Again, managers sit back their staff members and say, no, that's not appropriate. Lastly, are you retarded? Some people do have retardation. Retardation, by the way, means from the root word to be slow, to retard, to slow down. Somebody who is mentally and physically challenged is going to be slower at the job. I'm visually impaired, so it does take me a little bit longer to do the work. But being asked such a question, are you retarded? Are you blind? Are you stupid? Again, that shouldn't go on a call. This is bad behavior. It should never be said. And I hope that staff and managers that hear this will support their colleagues and not allow that to happen. And as a customer, you shouldn't be going around saying that. So these are just some of the things people have said in many cases to call center staff. The reason why I wanted to do this episode, and I will say I was a little bit rough at some parts in this episode, is basically because there's a point here that I'm trying to drive at. And that is that we all need to be a lot more respectful to people on the phone in the call center. We need to be respectful to each other. As managers, we need to have respect for our underlings, if you're a manager. And, staff need to respect managers. We lost that common theme of respect in a lot of regards, in a lot of ways. And we need to bring that back. Civility needs to return in the call centers. And not saying it's epidemic or it's terrible in call centers. There's a lot of great call centers. I work in one that's fairly very well run, and we are generally okay and happy. Would I say there's need for improvement? Yes, there is. There's some work that certainly needs to be done, but generally speaking, it's a lot better than I expected it to be after we had to deal with somebody who was not so great as a leader. But we're getting there. So if you can do that, you're going to be a better off center. Your center is going to be better off. Your customers are going to be happier. You're going to have happy staff, and you're going to see a much more dynamic, fluid growth occurring in your center. If you don't, if you let bad behaviors continue, if you let antisocial behavior creep into the call center, if you let antisocial behavior continue on the calls, what you're going to get is high attrition, loss of money, and just plain simply loss of interest in that business. It's important to think about that, and that's the reason for this particular episode. It's time to deal with the bad calls and the bad behavior, and to underscore that with training, with support, and with education towards customers and internally to staff and managers. By doing so, the call center industry will definitely thrive. By not doing so, you're just going to see more and more loss. Thank you for listening to this episode. My name again is Cliff. I hope that you have a good rest of your day. It's been an interesting dive into, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care for now. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to Tales from the Cube. My name is Cliff Turner. You can hear us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Audible. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate it. We'll see you in the next episode of Tales from the Cube.